All right, we are live for the morning check-in. This Thursday morning is a beautiful morning, so I thought I would switch it up a little bit and do something different. And so, trying to get a little fresh air and share with you some thoughts about a lot of spookiness going on in that RNC convention. But yeah, a lot of interesting developing. Trump, man. Yeah. I'm not going to go too hard today, but I hope that if you guys are able to see through some of the smoke and mirrors and get beyond the emotional stuff, that you can see that, at this current moment, Trump has the MAGA crowd wrapped around his finger. And at this current moment, it's like, can he do anything wrong that would get people to question his narratives, his agendas, and who he's bringing into his party? Like, those are some things that really concerns me. Like, who is this guy surrounding himself with? It's nothing different than the typical political bureaucrats and swamp-like individuals. But anyway, looking forward to hearing your thoughts, man. So let me know if you guys can hear me. Let me know if the audio video is coming in good, so we can make this a worthwhile live stream. And as always, want to get your thoughts on things. I don't want this to be just me ranting and all the time. So let me know in the comments section what your thoughts are, as well as the chat, what you guys see. And so if you don't mind, hit that thumbs up button, show support for the channel. Hopefully that alerts more people to join in and just basically get an alternative perspective, man. Because at this current moment, it just troubles me to try to run with the mainstream narratives of what's being sold to us. Like, everything that's being positioned in front of our eyes is a narrative that someone else is constructing, and people are so quick to run with it without questioning things. Like, and it bothers me. So hopefully it bothers you. We go from there. So Kevin, appreciate you, man. We got Kevin from Florida checking in. Appreciate you, man. And I'm sure the weather's a lot better down in Florida than it is right now in Detroit, but I'll take it for now. Okay, so this is the time where I'm curious to get your thoughts. So feel free to put some thoughts out there about what you're seeing, and just the developments over the last, almost half a week now since the event that took place over the weekend. And so it's clear that there's 3 or 4 different types of stories coming out of the weekend's activity surrounding the assassination attempt. And so, from Secret Service deliberately having their less qualified security team on board, all the way from just information that hit the internet sphere about a Jewish wealth or venture capitalist firm shorting Donald J. Trump's stock, as well as Rumble, because they anticipated something to happen. And so it just, as much as I don't talk about, ethnicity, race, and all that other stuff, nationalities, just because I know this is a part of what they want us to, talk about, but you can't ignore it and hide how, at this current moment, the nation state of Israel has a lot more influence over what takes place in this current election than most people would be willing to admit. And that should concern a lot of people, because we had JD Vance on a podium talking about, supporting Israel. And so Netanyahu sending out, comments, about supporting this presidential campaign and all that other stuff. So I can go on and on and on, but you guys get my drift, man. Like, it's just, to me, it becomes more and more obvious that we're being played for some fools. And at this current moment, because people are searching for hope, they wouldn't be willing to call a spade and really call out what they see as being something that should be questionable. But then again, I'm one of a few, perhaps you as well. So that makes 2 of us, perhaps. But anyway, Patrick says, God bless. Pray for tensions to calm down here in the U.S. Definitely, that is something worth praying for. And on top of that, knowing that the whole point in this political season and all the things that's about to be thrown our way is to divide us further, to incite emotional tensions, to ultimately spill out to something more. That's ultimately what their goal would be. And then you factor in now the narratives are shifting from the Democratic side. as a result of the failed assassination attempt on Trump. And so, if it was a genuine attempt that failed, I just, I still find it hard to believe that, it'll be a one and done situation. And I got some thoughts about that as well. So remind me that. And I had some thoughts that I was going to comment on the other day about how I believe, 45, because I have to be careful due to YouTube censorship, how 45, if that assassination attempt from this past weekend was a genuine movement, then 45 is a marked man. And moving forward, if he is a marked man by whoever, then all those in his presence, i.e., unfortunately, the gentleman and the other individual that I think was shot, but one life lost last weekend. He was there in support of what he believes is the best candidate for the Republican Party, and he caught a bullet, and he's no longer here. And so it's good to say, with this additional narrative that they're putting out there, that Iran is, going to be behind some things. They're framing the possibility that a much bigger event could occur. And imagine, I couldn't imagine. I wouldn't be in the crowd, first of all, but imagine being in those events where if Trump is a marked man, meaning that there's going to be another attempt, perhaps, or God forbid, then it's going to be more lives lost along the way. And that's not something that is worth the risk to me, to go to those events knowing that he's a target, perhaps, and stray bullets don't got names on them. It's just wherever they land. Anyway, I can go on and on and on. Carlos says, good morning, brother Mike. Just more bread and circus directly from the Hollywood and WWE ring, it looks like. Carlos, definitely, man. I do and can see that. But when there's lives lost, it goes beyond bread and circus, because once again, man, like, there's an overwhelming majority of people that actually believe that what they're witnessing is genuine, and it's not. It's just typical political seasons that come and go, and nothing major changes. Nothing really changes. There can be no systemic change from the foundation of this political system, because the whole concept of democracy with elected representatives is flawed. Because if the people that are positioned in front of you have already been captured, i.e., bought through special interests and all types of secret pacts and groups, then the two candidates or three candidates that are running for something, they all have special interests backing them. Therefore, they're compromised. Therefore, they will tell you whatever you want to hear, and that's the problem. And so I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm starting off a little bit different this morning, but I just got so much in my mind. I was thinking about the current state of the world and how this entire paradigm we live in is extremely dysfunctional. And because it's dysfunctional, nothing really makes sense. And so it makes it easier for there to be people that believe in what's presented in front of them, because it gives them hope. And so if we live in a dysfunctional world, i.e., a lot of the spiritual things behind everything, then it doesn't take much for people to be deceived into thinking that one person, one party, or one movement can make a difference. And so you got dysfunctional people who are extremely vulnerable to deception. All it takes is a smidget of hope, and you got a whole movement. You can rally a whole bunch of people off the chance that one speech can move an entire nation. And that's what's happening with this whole, MAGA, movement, MAGA cult, as I call it. And I'm going to share with you some things that really spooks me outside of all the other things. So I haven't watched in detail. I just get sound bites and clips, but it's more than enough to let me know that, man, if people think real genuine change is coming through DC, you've been fooled. And I've, got a lot of, comments, on Rumble about, real derogatory comments, man. You know what I'm saying? You a fool, this and that. You don't know what I'm like, oh, once again, man, just look at the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, what political party has saved anything or done anything worthwhile? But that's just, my little rant there. But bear with me. It's going to get better. It says zoomed in on your mouth only. Give me a second here. So let me see here. Looks like I might have a little bit of a malfunction. Forgive me. Yeah, so I'm trying to stream on Rumble and um on YouTube. So bear with me. Let me see what's going on here. So that might be the case, but yet hopefully you guys can hear my words. Forgive me. Uh, looks fine on YouTube. Yeah. So for those who are on Rumble, if you want to really participate, I encourage you to go to the YouTube, because it looks like typically I can do the long view on Rumble, but to not right now they're not letting me do that. But I just got a couple articles I want to share. And go from there. But anyway, okay. So jump on YouTube real quick if you guys want to get the full scoop. Okay. So as a result of this RNC commission, this RNC convention, whatever, I'm thinking, okay, like, why does this, to me, this one seems different than the previous ones. I've never really paid attention to any of them, but I hear what comes from them. And I'm thinking, like, I'm looking at some of these crowds, and you have people chanting, fight, fight. And like, all these sound bites that come out of there. And then you look at the people at the podium and the screens behind them, and they got the the Latin letters under the pyramid dollar sign and all those symbolic things showing that, they could put anything in front of us, but people see through all that because they're so emotionally attached to this agenda and this movement that, they can basically just, see, a new world order on the bottom of the screen written in Latin, and have all these, Jewish, performers, and you got a prayer in the name of, some Indian god coming from the screen and coming from the podium, so they can give us whatever. People believe it. Okay, sure. But I'm thinking, like, okay, when you look at if you zoom out and get beyond the emotional stuff and all the political rhetoric and just try to focus on, what really impacts the people the most, and it happens to be what's, in and around their pockets, because that is what controls this entire narrative, the currency. And so I did a little deep dive, not a much deep dive, but I just asked a serious question, and I'll bring it on the screen right now. And so, just so you guys can see what I see, uh, I asked Perplexity a question. I says, how many Republican national conventions have there been since 1913? And I use 1913 as the starting point because that's when our monetary system was officially captured due to the central banking model that has been the primary reason for the world's, destruction in a sense. But it says here, since 1913, there has been 28 Republican national conventions. It says these quadrennial conventions have been held every 4 years to nominate the Republican Party's candidates. So you got the DNC, you got the Republican National Party. Okay, so there's been 28 different conventions since the signing of the Federal Reserve Act. And I would imagine every single convention has had some primary subject matter of which the Republican side was able to point at the Democratic side and say, I can do this better than you. They are the reason that this is this. And then you got on the DNC side, those Republicans, they are such and such and such. We're going to do this. So you got all this finger point. RNC points to the DNC, and everybody is just like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I stand for this. I don't stand for that. Okay, sure. But in the middle of that are the people and the whatever policies and things that they're rooting for and champion. It ultimately costs. And so no matter what, the government has grown larger and larger. The debt has grown exponentially. And who gets stuck holding the taxes? Who gets stuck holding the bill? The users of the currency. And so that led me to always, bring back my favorite graph here of like RNC conventions come and go. The DNC conventions come and go. But since the creation of the Federal Reserve System, where Mr. Woodrow Wilson signed his signature, we got 19 different administrations of both Republican and Democrats. And look how much purchasing power you have available at your it's available to you now. Was it probably 2 cents? I say it's sub-zero. That's just me, but you ain't got much left. And this current election in November will be the last election under this current model here, centered around a fractionally reserve banking structure before it's transitioned into the digital, all-encompassing, centrally controlled, stable coin, CBDC merger, whatever. And so you got people championing political viewpoints and parties that's all been captured And the people who are laughing all the way to the bank happen to be the people above my head here who have come and gone, but they have eroded your purchasing power. But it doesn't seem to bother people. So, okay, I'll leave it at that. But that is something that people really should probably, be more concerned with. But then again, you can't blame everybody for not knowing. Okay. So my whole point is, no matter what comes from the pulpit, whether the DNC or RNC, they're all wrapped around the finger of whatever candidate because he tells you what you want to hear. Okay. So what has changed since this past weekend that has really caught my attention? It has been around the narrative of Bitcoin, Jamie Dimon, and going to the moon. And so on my X feed, because I follow all types of subjects, I have been bombarded with Bitcoin talk. And what could it have anything to do with the fact that the Bitcoin conference in Nashville is next week and Trump is committed to speaking there, Saylor's speaking there, and I'm assuming now that Trump is campaigning for Jamie Dimon, we may have a surprise visit from Jamie Dimon, who is now a Bitcoiner as well. And so the fact that people can't see this flip-flop within a short window of time and question it concerns me. But I put in a tweet. Let me actually share the tweet with you. Because to me, it is indicative of what is really happening now. Because of people who are so deceived, they chase the first thing that gives them hope. And then you factor in greed of the idea of profiting off of this. You can tell them no wrong. It don't matter what truth you give them, what evidence you show them, because they have hope that Bitcoin can fix DC, Wall Street, all along. Larry Fink and Jamie Dimon, the two biggest bankers in our country, when they are on board with something, that means they've already got large stashes. They've already positioned themselves to control the direction of something. But here we are. Bitcoin fixes that. Okay. So let's keep it going. So for those who are tuned in, man, appreciate you for blessing with your presence as always, man. I got off on a really, really long rant, so now I'm about to begin the program. And so, because I want to hear from you guys, definitely let me know where you're watching from. And for those who might be new to the community, hit that subscribe button on YouTube or Rumble. I apologize for my Rumble community not being able to see me the way that I'm, long view today, just because I know on YouTube, the long view, it shows up to more people. So I got to kind of go where the people is at because my normal subscriber base won't be notified. So I got to go where the people are at to reach more people. And so if you haven't, also in the description, all the socials, and on Telegram is where it's the most active throughout the day. And you can share thoughts, ideas, suggestions from your favorite content creators, so share stuff there. And that'll definitely, put you in a good position there. So definitely connect with us there. You'll be good. All right. So before I move forward, let me get into some share resources as to how people can plug into the channel, man. So if you're new to the channel, rethinkingthedollar.com is a home base where it's the blog where I share all the information, keep up-to-date articles, all my previous content, gold, silver stuff they can get there. All my videos go up there, and some of my most best performing videos here, de-dollarization processes, which is what I tend to focus on a lot. And I got something on de-dollarization in a minute. And I talk about monetary history, paper currency, talk about the fraudulent banking system. This decade here, as you can see, this is the last decade where we will actually use physical cash. I'll lay out a case for why that is. And then the 5 reasons to unplug from the matrix. 1, test yourself. 2, plug in for outside the box thinking. 3, the dollarication chart. 4, join the RTD Silver team. And 5, subscribe, join the community. You won't be unhappy with the results there. Okay. So let's keep it moving. And next, I want to make sure I remind people of Colonials Metals Group, my partners that help people take advantage of a self-directed IRA. So as you can see above my head, there's a form here. If you fill out this form, you'll be contacted by the experts there and ask questions on how to diversify and better protect and preserve your retirement assets. And so there's a variety of ways you can do it. The best way to find out what you can do is to speak to the experts. So if you click the link in the base in the description here, fill out this form, you'll be contacted by the team there. They'll give you all the information you need and just simply ask questions. And so here's some of the testimonials here. And also you can give them a call here. The number is also available for you guys to call them and speak to the experts and get your questions answered. So I actually got get a chance to talk to Paul later on today, the founder, and he got some very informative information to share with me. So I'll be putting that video out sometime later, probably today or tomorrow, but that's just that. But, outside of all this Bitcoin talk, another thing that you will not hear is the fact that gold has really signaled a demise in the fiat version of our currency, the Federal Reserve note. And so one of my mantras is, all dollars are not created equal. And there's different forms of instruments labeled as dollars that people, will find out about if you haven't already. But of course, if you plugged in here, you know the real deal. So big ups to you. But yesterday, 2 days ago, the amount of activity in the metal space is undeniable. But then again, if the hype is around Bitcoin, Jamie Dimon, and everything else, it'll fly under the radar for people who aren't paying attention. But to look at the metals prices right now, gold is at $2,467.80. And right now, with all this Bitcoin stuff, they'll have you thinking that, it is what is the best thing for investors. When Larry Fink come out and saying that everybody should have a portion in their portfolio of Bitcoin, that lets you know where they're steering you towards. And nobody will come out and say everybody needs to have a portion of gold and silver in their portfolio as well. And so people will be led to the slaughter going solely digital at the expense of this type of information here. And so when I saw this vision, this graph here highlighting where we're at, let me read this on the screen here. So as you can see right here, let me get here. As you can see above my head here, this is what we're looking at right now. Gold is at an all-time high, relatively speaking. And just look at the year to date. Look at this. From literally the beginning of this year to right now, the system has broken. The petrodollar system has all been further stretched apart to where it's no longer carrying the same weight it did. And then you have all the other fiats nationwide, globally, that are crumbling when you measure real world goods and services in GOLD terms. And so this right here should be front and center in every financial sector, in all the financial news, because the world is back on a gold standard now. And unfortunately, people in the US, because they don't know what gold is from a sound, true, tested monetary medium of value, people look at other things and be led astray. Because once again, I mentioned, we're in a dysfunctional world where deception is very strong. And the first thing that offers hope and greed, hope that breeds greed, people are going to run towards it. So get your weight up, folks. You know what time it is. Okay. And then silver, of course, yesterday was at $31. And like always, they managed to shoot it down. So here we got activity right now. Let me get in here. So as of right now, this is what we're looking at for silver. And let me just go out to 5 days. So July 24, we was up here at 31 something dollars, and all of a sudden, boop, it fell off a cliff. And look at all this volume over here of paper contracts. Look at this. Somebody just dumped. Why the suppression of silver? People should be concerned. But manipulation is your friends. It is your friends, my good people. Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be a good morning, man. It's gonna be a good morning. What do we have here? Carlos says, Mike, yes, Bitcoin is like religion. Many bankers converting. Remember, even fiat went digital BTC. Yes, not the real, but works let's say, but works let's save. Yes, not real, but works let you save. Yeah. I mean, and of course, I've been watching as I've watched Bitcoin for the last 12 years now. I've watched Bitcoin every day just because, I was an early believer that it would be something different until I realized it wasn't. And my narrative changed. And so for those who've been around, I started 2017, 18, right after the whole block war, my narrative changed to where I'm like, okay, something's happened. And clearly, everything is starting to become evident, but people don't see it because if you're an early adopter, you got big bags. You just want your bags to grow. And they, it's to the advantage of the early adopters to persuade the newbies to get in because it makes their bags grow. And so the religion formed around Bitcoin is the cult is just very spooky. But then again, the cult doesn't stop here because let me share something with you. Here's another cult that caught my attention. Let me share it. And so this is right here. I'm going to share this. So that is spooky. And I could be wrong, but real quick, I'm going to share this with you. So this is from Jeff Burrick. But look at this activity that we have here from the convention. Let me zoom in some so you guys see what I see. So just look at this lady right here with the patch on her ear. So you got these people wearing patches on their ear, symbolizing their solidarity and commitment and allegiance and their. I can't really understand what people are like. Like, what do you like? You know, if I went to that convention and I let somebody put some tape on my ear, but look at the lady's face. She looks like she's looking at the Messiah. Like she's exuding pride and just like she's in the zone right now. And just this moment, this picture here is like it says to me a million words, and I'm like, you know, because I could see myself a part of that crowd. I'm like, based upon the way her facial expressions reveals what she's looking at, she's in her heyday, and at that moment, Trump and this RNC convention have people wrapped around their finger to where, at this current moment, Trump can say or do whatever he wants. And because you've been given the illusion of choice of just between two, you like, okay, it don't make sense to me. But once again, it's the best of two evils, so I'll pick one of them. And I'm thinking like, wow, like think about how dysfunctional and how deceived people are to think that you only got two choices. There's more than two. I'm not gonna get into those other ones. I'll let you think about what they are because it may make me sound a little bit radical, but I'll leave it at that. But this is just look at like you got a guy here on his cell phone, his ear covered, and then you just got more people. Look at this. They put tape and paper on ears at this convention, and I could be a hater. I'll I'll, I'll own it. I could be hating right now. So if I'm hating, I'm hating. Okay. But then once again, make this make sense to me. The ears are covered up, but it doesn't make sense. Okay, sure. Like I mentioned, okay, I'm gonna keep moving because I can be forever, and I'm not. But point in case is, let's get into some stories. As of right now, Joe Biden tests positive for that C-19 while campaigning in Las Vegas. Has mild symptoms. He went home. He tweeted out. He tweeted literally, "I'm sick." So clearly, we see narrative has changed. They're formulating. You're going to probably use this as a way to say it's time to, let him, get healthy off the campaign trail. We're going to replace him with whoever. Then, as just like some words floating out in La La Land, here's something to share from Dr. Robert Malone about some potential hypotheticals. Who knows? But this is what comes from his tweet. It says, rumor has it that the Democrat Party will nominate West Moore and Gretchen Whitmer as their ticket instead of Biden Harris. Biden Harris ticket cannot withstand the DJT momentum. So, where he got this from, I don't know, but with this whole sickness, because once again, why and how would they test him for COVID of all things, unless they were going to use that for something in the end? So we see where this is heading. So be on the lookout for some type of Democratic switch probably soon. Okay, sure. Okay, so Biden Harris might be out. Now whoever comes in, and they're gonna have to really get people's attention. So they're gonna have to promise you some things that will make you sway votes from the right to the left, like a pendulum. They tell you what you want to hear, and you just woo, 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 back and forth. Okay, but what concerns me most is how the narrative around Jamie Dimon and the whole drain the swamp situation doesn't. He no longer really has to drain the swamp because the swamp is a system. And so here's the thing: if you surround yourself with swamp creatures, meaning that people who are of a certain class of people that have an ulterior motive to further enslave humanity, you bring them into your staff, and your advisors are associated or take funds from swamp individuals. Wouldn't that be considered the swamp itself? Like if you surround yourself with swamp, like you are who you surround yourself with ultimately. So how can, barring the grace of God, how can a beacon of light surround himself with nothing but darkness and that light outshine the darkness? If it ain't, Christ related, what I'm saying? Like that type of thing don't happen. So yeah, but Trump says he mauls. So this was floated on the 16th. This just hit the airways. Trump said he mauls Jamie Dimon for U.S. Treasury. Won't try ousting Fed Powell. So that hit the airway. This is the first narrative that they sold us. Okay. And then it got people like, whoa, Jamie Dimon? What's going on here? And then day two. We got day two. Now we got Trump campaigning for Jamie Dimon as a changed man. He can change. So it's a quote. He's changed his tune. Trump reveals JP Morgan CEO sudden Bitcoin and crypto flip amid huge price surge. And so this is from some statements made by Trump referring to how Jamie Dimon has had a change of heart now that he has been floated out as a potential U.S. Treasury. So then and there, my alarm bell goes off. I'm thinking like, okay, they floated, it's picked up. Now he defends it. Then it becomes more of a accepted narrative. And I'm like, if Jamie Dimon was Epstein's guy, Bill, I mean, he's the financier and the banker for all the swamp. And if that's gonna be his right hand man when it comes to handling our nation's financial dealings, that should concern people, but it doesn't for everybody. But now we have Trump commenting that Jamie Dimon changed heart. He's a Bitcoin crypto guy. He was that all along. And mind you, I did a video years ago about how he's the primary backer for Ethereum. His Ethereum bag is bigger than anybody's out there. So he knows what's going on because they built Ethereum to be a smart contract type opportunity for tokenizing assets in the real world. He even built his own fork, the JPM coin. So he's a very much involved in the crypto community. But then again, the narrative was that he's against it because they needed time to be bought. They needed to get us to a certain point in time where this presidential election will come down to the currency aspect, and Bitcoin is going to be one of the saviors as it's being floated as a strategic reserve asset. So now we got Jamie Dimon, potentially U.S. Treasury. Bitcoin is going to be brought to the fold. Trump made it clear that he wants to have all Bitcoin mined here. He doesn't want it to escape our country. So Bitcoin, Jamie Dimon, Treasury, the U.S. dollar linkage. They're going to back the dollar with Bitcoin. Never mind gold. Never mind silver. They'll never go backwards. And people think that we're heading towards freedom. And they have been setting this trap all along. But it doesn't bother anybody. So who am I? Okay, let's keep it going. Let's keep it moving, people. So that was yesterday's narrative. Here's today's narrative off of Fox News now. So now, here we go. It's mainstream. Trump could pick Jamie Dimon for Treasury Secretary. Former president previously called JP Morgan a highly overrated globalist. And so expect more stuff to come out about Jamie Dimon being that guy. And so now, by him being tagged as a Treasury hopeful by the possible 47th president, the ball's in Jamie Dimon's court now. So Jamie Dimon, if Trump gets elected, he got all the pull because it's up to him to say yes or nay. But you better believe if he says yes, he's going to have some strings attached because he's the biggest banker in our country who's been asked to step down from his role at JP Morgan. And that's a very nice job when you are the biggest of the biggest. Your founder, JP Morgan, 100 years ago, is the one that set up the Federal Reserve System along with his other billionaire buddies. And here he is now in the greatest position of all time to still have a large amount of shares in the bank. So he's going to win in the end, regardless. He'll step down temporarily, come into the office of U.S. Treasury, and rearrange all of our finances to benefit his bank, his billionaire buddies, all because, that's a part of draining the swamp, I guess. Yeah. Okay. What else we got here? You got to love this, man. As of right now, because people are so hopeless, believing that one man can save us from whatever, the MAGA crowd is wrapped around the finger of Trump, man. So, yeah. And then it's going to get worse when they swap out Biden and bring in somebody else, because now whoever they bring in, they got to make promises to get you to come back to the left. The left and the right. It's a tug of war, left and right, and all in between. People getting poorer and poorer. Man. And then it doesn't help when you have articles like this out of Russia. De-dollarization process underway. It cannot be stopped. So this came out yesterday from the Russian news source, and it says issues of reforming the IMF and World Trade Organization are also on the agenda of the BRICS summit in Kazan, Russia. Foreign minister stressed. So it's just some quotes from Lavrov, like the front man for Russia. Says the process of de-dollarization cannot be stopped with countries thinking how to make themselves safe. Russia Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said at a news conference in the UN after presiding over a Security Council meeting as its chairman. It says, all are trying to make themselves safe. Information leaked not long ago that in the environment when the United States and the whole collective West want to steal Russian money, Saudi Arabia is thinking how to reduce dependence on the dollar. The process of de-dollarization is underway. It cannot be stopped. So once again, he hinted at how Saudi Arabia decided to jump on board in support of Russia by not going for the whole G7 agenda to dump or sell Russian assets to give money to Ukraine. And so that is just one of a lot of other OPEC nations that will probably follow suit. So it'll be in your best interest to make sure that you diversify out of something that's being used against you as a weapon. And so if you look at that happening on a global scale as to how nations are deciding to reduce their risk on their exposure to U.S. liabilities, our debt, and our currency, it's only natural as a person who lives in this country, if I'm watching others decide to get rid of our currency, that means that I want to also begin rethinking how I structure my livelihood and my financial future around that same currency, because it won't carry the same amount of value if the world don't run to it and don't use it or don't need it. So it's to your best interest as well as to reposition yourself as well. And then this goes into my concept of how all dollars are not created equal. And so just to highlight a little bit of what I'm referring to, let me share with you one of my many visual aids, graphics, or whatever. Give me a second here, because this to me is just more educational resources. So at the on my Twitter or X account, the very thing I got pinned at the very top, little video explanation where I talk about these same concepts here. I put together a blog post, and this blog post right here, and it is entitled, when it pops up, The Dollar Paradox. This is called The Dollar Paradox, and I further elaborate on how all dollars are not created equal. And so literally I break down the different instruments that are labeled as dollars, and there's a variety of them. There's too many of them to name, but it all boils down to is how they're treated internationally, and they all are treated differently internationally. So if there's 6 or 7 different instruments labeled as dollars, every citizen here in this country is solely dependent upon 1 or 2 of those versions. And those 2 versions are what the system is relying upon you using only, so that it can further expand our debt, deficits, and everything else, because it's the primary mediums used to fund this whole narrative we're living in. And so if people wake up and realize that there are alternatives, and that you personally have to become your own financier, then you can help minimize the risk. And of course, the ultimate supreme versions of dollars happen to be a silver eagle and other sovereign coinage, and a gold $50, $20, $5, whatever you want to call it, coin as well. Those are the most risk adverse dollar forms that a person can have in this environment here. So, of course, you know that, but then again, I don't know who might be new to the channel, but you want to get enough of those to protect yourself at the end of the day. But anyway, these are just some thoughts I had on mine. Yeah, man, just, a lot of spookiness happening out here. And once again, like, I can shout from the top of my voice, but then again, when people only know one thing, is to go with what's being sold to them because they don't think they have choices, then they fall for it. But that's just my 2 cents there. But what we got? About 40 minutes on here. If you guys have thoughts, ideas, suggestions, want to put out some things in the chat, let me know. Um, Harry says, grow the beard back. Yeah, the beard was cool. Just switch it up a little bit. Grow on, grow off. Ace of Silver says Jamie Dimon for Treasury Secretary. Yeah. What did it say? U.S. a biggest debtor nation in the world. Yeah, and it's gonna be a day of reckoning coming sooner or later. Kai says the thing is American bonds will always be desirable, and so printing will always continue. Main risk is the petrodollar sales. Um, I can see how that statement could be something that sounds valid and true, because once again, it's not going to be an overnight thing. But our bonds are what nations tend to hold and buy as a part of their reserve structure. So their reserves are positioned in the bonds. And so we're going to have a unlimited amount of bonds being issued in the near future to meet deficits and stuff like that. So will nations show up to buy those things is a question. And that's where I don't think, there will be much of a demand globally for bonds if that there's going to be trillions issued in the days ahead to fund deficits and to pay for our past expenditures and ultimately to pay for our nation's sins is what these debts are going to be issued for. So because of that, I don't think people are going to want to really hold bonds like that. And ultimately bonds, when you cash them in, you get currency. So that's the Federal Reserve note. So yeah, get your weight up. Get your weight up 100%. 313 Wayne in the building. How you doing, man? All right, people. That's it. But as always, it's good to connect. Hopefully, some of the things I said kind of make sense. And once again, I tend to strike a lot of nerves when I talk about politics because people aren't as open-minded about the political narratives as I would hope that they would be, especially given everything that we've witnessed before, where every candidate has to promise you something in order to get your vote. And how often do they live up to what they promise? Because that one person can promise you the world, but it takes an entire congressional approval usually to make it come to fruition. And if it don't benefit them or work towards the future that they want, a carbon green America, you'll own nothing, be happy with the type of agenda, then it's going to be hard for a president to deliver on his promises. So just look at 45 promised a lot, but the biggest things for me is I was waiting on Hillary. I was waiting on an indictment or something. I ain't get none of that. You know what I'm saying? But we did get a mysterious illness. Yeah. Anyway, so imagine if we got a mysterious illness to disrupt Trump's plans. Imagine what's coming next if he gets in again. Yeah. Anyway, but be blessed, be safe. Depending on, I got a lot out today, so I might try to do this again. I might come back in a couple of hours and check in midday or something like that. I don't know. I enjoyed this. I got to get back to my live stream formats here. But anyway, be blessed, be safe. Hope you guys had a great morning. Go live, laugh, love, and learn something. And be a blessing to others. All right, good people. Shalom.